is from John 13, verses 31 through 35. Jesus teaches the disciples to love one another. When Judas had gone out, Jesus said, "Now is the human one glorified, and in that one God is glorified. If God is glorified in the human one, God will also glorify that very one in God's self, and will glorify that one immediately. Little children, yet a little while I am with you. You will seek me, and as I said to the religious authorities, so now I say to you, where I am going, you cannot come. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, even as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this will all know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." May God add understanding to the reading of the gospel.
Glory be to the Maker, and to the Christ, and to the Holy Ghost, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. Amen.
Please be seated. God, I ask that you anoint my heart, anoint my lips. Let the words I speak be your words and not mine. Remove me from myself, my fears, concerns, and anxieties, and replace that with the movement of your Holy Spirit within. And anoint the ears of those who would hear a message today, that whatever message they hear will be the one that you have for them this day, specifically for them. Amen. The glory of glories. When Judas had gone out, Jesus said, "Now the Son of Man has been glorified, and God has been glorified in him. And now God will glorify God's self in him, and he will glorify him immediately." The gospel passage this morning tells us of the fourfold glory. The glory of Jesus has come, and that the glory is the cross. The tension is gone, and any doubts that remained have been finally removed. Judas has gone out, and the cross is a certainty. Here we are face to face with something which is of the very essence of life. The greatest glory in life is the glory which comes from sacrifice. In any warfare, the supreme glory belongs not to those who survive, but to those who lay down their lives. In Jesus, God has been glorified. It was the obedience of Jesus which brought glory to God. There is only one way for a person to show that they love and admire and trust their leader, and that is by obeying them, if need be to the bitter end. The only way in which a child can honor a parent is by honoring them and obeying them. Jesus gave the supreme honor and the supreme glory to God because Jesus gave the supreme obedience, even to the cross. So many of us today and throughout the centuries have vilified Judas for his betrayal of Jesus. Yet it was when Judas had left the room that Jesus' concerns and doubts were wiped away. Judas had a mission to accomplish. It was not to just betray Jesus and to hand him over to death. His mission was to help lead Jesus to the final stage of ultimate glory. Jesus was obedient to God even to the point of death. Jesus knew that the cross would be his death and trusted in the resurrection, and that would be the ultimate glory of him, God, and all of creation. After Judas had left the gathering, so as to go and fulfill his mission of betrayal. Jesus told the others what they must now do, and that was to love one another beyond all comprehension. Jesus loved his disciples selflessly. Even in the noblest human love, there remains some element of self. We so often think, perhaps unconsciously, of what we are going to get. We think of the happiness we will receive, or of the loneliness we will suffer if love fails or is denied. So often we are thinking, what will this love do for me? So often at the back of things, it is our happiness that we are seeking. But Jesus never thought of himself. Jesus' one desire was to give fully and all that he had for those he loved. Jesus loved the disciples sacrificially. There was no limit to what Jesus' love would give or to who it would go. There was no demand that could be made upon it that was too much. If love meant the cross, Jesus was prepared to go there. Sometimes we make the mistake of thinking that love is meant to give us happiness. So, in the end, it does. But love may well bring pain and demand a cross. Jesus loved the disciples understandingly. Jesus knew the disciples through and through. You never really know people until you've lived with them. When you are meeting with them occasionally, you see them at their best. It is when you live with them that we find out their moods, their irritabilities, and their weaknesses. Jesus had loved, Jesus had lived with the disciples day in and day out for many months, and knew all that there was to know about them. And yet Jesus still loved them, even the one who was to betray him. Sometimes we say that love is blind, but that is not true. For the love that is blind can end in nothing but bleak and utter disillusionment. Real love is open-eyed. It loves not what it imagines a person to be, but what that person is. The heart of Jesus is big enough to love each of us as we are. And Jesus loved the disciples forgivingly. The leader of the disciples was to deny Jesus. They were all to forsake Jesus in Jesus' hour of need. They never in the days of Jesus' flesh really understood Jesus. They were blind and insensitive, slow to learn, and lacking in understanding, kind of like us. In the end, they were craven cowards. But Jesus held nothing against them. There was no failure which he could not forgive. The love which has not learned to forgive cannot do anything else but shrivel and die. We are poor creatures, and there is a kind of fate in things which makes us hurt, most of all, those who love us best. For that very reason, all enduring love must be built on forgiveness. For without forgiveness, it is bound to die. That is the love that Jesus gives us all as the final command. He didn't just say, go and love one another. Jesus said, love one another selflessly, Love one another understandingly. Love one another sacrificially. And love one another forgivingly. Doesn't that sound like your relationships? Sometimes you just have to give up what you want and take care of your partner. Sometimes you have to forgive them. Cookies get burned. Life goes on. Sometimes you have to have some understanding. They may be grumpy when they get home from work. Well, it's snack time. Give them a break. Understanding them. Loving them. And this is a hard one. You must be forgiving. I know everybody thinks that in a relationship all is perfect. And there's no reason to ever forgive. I would consider that blind love. That's going to wither away. Because sooner or later there will be facts to face and truths to look at. And there will be a need for forgiveness. Not only for you to forgive someone, but for you to accept the forgiveness from someone else, which at times is the hardest thing to do. Because we know we did nothing wrong. I'm perfect. You could just ask Dasher the dog. I'm pretty perfect. But there are some times when Roy may think I may have done something wrong. I don't say get over it. I say, okay, I'm sorry. Kind of like the horrible dinner last night. I had my mind set all day of going out to a movie and then going out to a dinner. So I wasn't planning on cooking. When the power came back on, I didn't want to cook. So I just threw something together in a bowl, put it in the oven, and hollered at Roy, "Something called dinner's ready." There was no anger. Later on, I said, "I'm sorry for the dinner I had to serve you." He said, "It tasted good to me." So sometimes forgiving is lying. And that's okay. Love one another as unconditionally, as selflessly, and understandingly, and forgivingly as Christ loves us. Amen. Amen.
Rise in spirit as you're able. Number 460, let us break bread together. Let us break bread together on our knees. Let us break bread together on our knees. When I fall on my knees with my faith